These are my audience members. There you go. So today I'm going to inform you guys about the rise of online learning, when online learning first began, how it's used today, and how and when it became a part of the academic and school system. Many of us today, myself included, I know you guys are older, but now that I'm in school, most of my academic learning is hybrid. So for my classes, I'm in person and then I'm online. Whereas back in the day, you could go 20 to 30 years ago where mostly everybody's classes were online. So the main topics, like I repeated, is the history of online learning, how it is used today, and when it became a part of schools. So online learning began in the early 1960s and the 1980s when computer-based training and early networks first appeared. So you have things like when Internet Explorer first popped up, or ways to look things up online. And then in 1989, the first fully online course was created by the University of Phoenix. And the online course was a lot different 40, 30 years ago. So the way that it worked back then was they would post the assignment on a bulletin board outside the school. People who were online would go up to that bulletin board, take off the assignment, go home and say, this is what I have to do. And then they would go back to the school and drop it off, right? So there was no class, it was just purely self-based and self-taught learning. The also way that it was very different back then was when you had an assignment, you had no classes, there was no routine, there was no lectures back then. So how today we have online lectures, back then when the fully online coursework, there was no lectures. You would have to go to the library to do it online if you didn't have a computer in home and things like that. So, and then in the early 2000s, online learning platforms like Blackboard, like what we use today at our school, and Moodle became common. And then in the later decade, in the 2000s, you started seeing ads for other kinds of online learning. Like I think we all remember the ad, the Education Connection ad, where it was posted everywhere and it could be online learning for fun and for free, right? So how online learning is used today. So online learning, we use it in K through 12 classrooms. So in kindergarten, kids will have little tablets, or in elementary schools, they'll have computer labs, the same with middle school. And then once you get to high school, you get things like Chromebooks, where you pretty much do all your assignments online using things like Google Classroom, Canva, and things like that in the modern day. College and universities have fully online degree, hybrid classes, video lectures, and discussion boards. So like I was talking about earlier in my classes, they're hybrid, so some are online and some are in person. We use Blackboard for everything. And then workplace learning. So now online learning isn't just used for school, but it's used in the workplace as well. So when you start a new job and you have to do trainings to learn, you get on the computer and you watch a few videos on how to do something. Or online training, when you have to do that yearly training on safety, on how to treat your coworkers, that's also considered online learning. So, and then there's everyday learning like YouTube tutorials, how to do DIYs, online skill courses, language apps like Duolingo. Those are all online learning apps that is accessible and free to everyday people. And then the benefits that we see today is flexibility, accessibility, self-paced learning, and it's available 24/7. So when schools started using e-learning in majority setting, right, because it started back in 1989 with the University of Phoenix, but it wasn't as widespread or mainstream like it is today. So in the late 1990s and the early 2000s, schools started experimenting with digital tools and early online programs, like I said before, like Education Connection. In 2010s, rapid growth of blending learning, so the mix of online and in person, was starting to grow because people have full-time jobs and they needed an alternative option, right? And then in 2020, COVID massively accelerated online learning and how fast it grew. Because from 2019 to 2020, the amount of people that went online was nearly 90% of schools. The only schools that aren't included in that statistic are vocational schools where you have to be on hand. So like things like welding or construction classes or places like that or schools like that or nursing programs where you have to be in person to learn these skills. And then after 2020, the growth of online learning kind of went back down because people started going back to school and going back to classes in person, but it didn't change the effects of people preferring online learning, like going to classes online. And in colleges, hybrid kind of became the social norm. And then it became a part of many classrooms. And then in conclusion, online learning has grown from a small experiment to a part of modern education. Online learning continues to evolve, and it will likely shape the future of education for years to come. Thank you. Any questions?
As a person who did both online and in-person schooling, do you prefer one over the other, or do you like the blend that you have now?
I think it depends on the class. Like I can take a psychology class online, but I can't take a math class online because I need to be in person to learn it. Or art, I can take drawing 1 online, but I couldn't take ceramics online. So I think it's a blend where sometimes it's really good for a certain class and other times it can be difficult for certain classes.
Thank you.
Woo.